A really cool meeting today for you guys. It's about ethics and professionalism in dentistry. Before I introduce our speaker for today, we have a couple announcements. So as you can see on the calendar, on the 12th is our next social, so that's a Sunday night. It has come to my attention that that's the OChem SI review.
Yeah.
So okay. So all of you guys are in that. All right, cool. So we will probably end up changing that date. But yeah, please look at the calendar for like all the upcoming events and stuff like that. Call us out because we're not in every class, like OChem and Physio, all those classes. So if there is like an SI review, we obviously want to accommodate your guys' schedule and make sure that you guys are in those exam reviews, getting your stuff done. So yeah, let us know if we've scheduled something during those times and it's like a conflict. SSC this week, Julian's not here. He's somewhere else, but yeah. Continue signing up for SSC. From the looks of it, it seems as if it's like the same 16, 20 people signing up for SSC every week. So just make sure that you guys are going to SSC. Remember that you guys did sign those applications that said you have to, especially for you new members. Like, I mean, it's already October, so you guys have to get those SSC points in by winter break. So just make sure you guys are aware that you can check your point spreadsheet online, right, Sydney?
Oh, it's not up here because I'm waiting for the rest of the applications.
Okay, so if you haven't submitted your applications, please do that. It's October already. Yeah, Nicole.
What do you mean this certified points due by winter? I thought it's 1 year.
So for returning members, it's 1 year. For new members, associate members, it's by winter break.
Wait, what if you're were cardinal last
Doesn't
year?
matter. Has nothing to do with it. Okay. Does anybody have any questions while we're talking about that? No? Yes?
Okay.
What's up?
I never introduced myself at the last meeting because I was
Yeah.
taking dues. My name is Chris. I'm the treasurer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you should know.
You guys are buying your scrubs from him, so contact Chris for scrubs. We're actually going to be sending out a spreadsheet. We're not ordering new scrubs this year. We have an abundant amount from last year. So yeah, we're just going to continue selling those. If we don't have your size, we're just going to send out some kind of like a sell spreadsheet. If you guys do want new scrubs, we'll order them for you. If we don't have your size, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll figure it out. Just make sure you contact Chris about that.
If you aren't getting the emails, you can either email me, my email's, or I'm Sydney, you can look up my email, or Nicole, so that we can add you to the list, because that either means that I typed out what you put on your application wrong, or I don't have your application, which is an issue for obvious reasons. So, please get your application in.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And don't harass them. They're awesome. You guys can harass me if you'd like, but yeah, they're doing an awesome job. We're gonna do breakfast with board next week. So if you guys don't know what that is, after SSC, we kind of, we go to breakfast. We have, breakfast with everyone who goes to SSC. Okay. So the 16 people who go next week will go to breakfast with us at Jackson Joe's. It's a pretty sweet time. We get, the Pudgy Elvis and whatever, some coffee. It's pretty cool. Well, you guys sound super excited for that. Okay. It's just a good time. It's just nice to relax and, get to know us and we get to know you guys. So yeah. Plus, also for you associate members, it will be much easier on you guys when it comes to, let's say you guys are borderline in terms of your points that you need for winter break. If we know you, we can vouch for you and say, yeah, this guy or this girl, they're a good member. So it is much easier if you get to know us and attend these events and stuff like that. The Scrubs party was pretty awesome. For those of you who didn't attend, you guys missed out. It's a good time. It's a good time. Yeah. Hey, that was pretty successful though. We got kicked out of Gateway and moved the party to Chez Rene. We literally walked the block and continued. It was pretty sweet. All right, do you guys have any more announcements, notations?
Oh, yeah. So thank you so much for everybody who's been emailing me already. So I'm setting it up. Unfortunately, we are having some issues with the HIPAA certification. I totally understand how frustrating it is that you can't find a new user button. So I'm going to try to contact them, talk to the e-board, and see how we can fix that. So you guys can definitely do rotations very soon.
For those of you who are already HIPAA certified, we should have that on file. So you guys can continue doing or start doing rotations as soon as you want to, as soon as they start up, which Ashley and Nicole will take care of. So you guys have any questions? Anything at all?
Yeah.
What's up?
Do you have to complete your HIPAA certification?
No,
Ever?
ever. You never have, at least not for us. Once you're HIPAA certified, you know that information, you're good. Okay? Yeah.
The 24th is at the fundraiser.
No, the 24th, so every year we do Halloween and Thanksgiving with the dental students. So we're doing Halloween with DSD, and we did an epic pregame, which was awesome last year. So we're just doing that again. And then we're having Thanksgiving at the other dental frat house, SIO. So yeah, you'll hear about those. It's pretty fun. Yeah. All right, we good? Okay, cool. So I'm gonna introduce our speaker for today. She's a professor. She teaches the 4th year dental students here about ethics and professionalism in dentistry. So please help me welcome Kimberly Garber.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate being here. I've been with the dental school for 11 years. I've been teaching ethics and professionalism for the last 3 years. I've also been teaching a behavioral science course, which is very interesting, for the last 7 years. One of the things that I wanted to talk a little bit about today is professionalism and what that's all about, because what happens is you're all science majors, am I correct? Is there anyone in here who's not a science major? Okay, what are your majors?
Art history.
Art history,
Psych.
psych, also art history. Anyone else? So, I want you to think for just a minute and think about what it means to be a practitioner. Right? What do you see? Does someone shout out what comes to your mind, what you see as a practitioner? So you're in clinic, right? You're working on a patient. You're essentially 18 inches from somebody working upside down in a dark cave, right? That's what you're doing. But in addition to that, if those of you who are going into private practice and you buy a private practice, you are now, congratulations, the CEO of your own company. You're an entrepreneur. Well, that carries a lot of weight. So now not only do you have the rights and obligations and responsibilities of a practitioner, someone who's responsible for somebody else's health, but you're also a business owner. You have to manage, heaven forbid, people. Oh, the drama, let me tell you. So you have that, you have taxes, you have to make your production. Do you guys know what that is, production? Production is what you produce on a daily basis. So if you have 10 patients and all the procedures cost $100, you made $1,000 for the day. Is that going to cover the cost for electricity, the lights, your payroll, your insurance, your malpractice insurance, insurance on the building, new equipment? Your office manager's going to come to you and she's going to say, gosh, you know, we need new scrubs. There's a hole and I can see somebody's underwear right through there. And you're going to say, there's no money. Can't do that. So professionalism and ethics plays a really big part, as big of a part in dentistry as the clinical, as the science, as the technique. And I'll tell you what, I also do consulting. I am a independent contractor for a small consulting firm. And 80% of all lawsuits stem from a miscommunication. Patients aren't going to know how great of a crown you placed, that margin was just perfect. Patients aren't going to know that composite you did was outstanding. They're not going to have a clue, and you know what? They don't care. What they care about is how they felt when they left your office. How did you make them feel? So that's where professionalism comes into play. In addition to professionalism, there are certain ethical principles that all dentists have to follow. And that's actually a separate course. I'm not going to get too much into ethics. There's 5 according to the American Dental Association. It's autonomy, non-maleficence, beneficence, or non-maleficence, beneficence, veracity, and fairness. Okay, so there are 5 there. We're going to kind of go over them very briefly. If you don't remember them after this, I promise once you get into dental school, we will hammer them into you. So we're just going to keep it light tonight. So when I say the word professional, what do you guys think of?
Doctor.
Say it again. Formal, doctor.
Unusual.
Say it again.
Official.
Official. Anybody else? Say it louder.
Proper.
Proper. Okay, these are all definitely terms associated with professional. Webster's dictionary defines it as the skill, good judgment, and polite behavior that is expected from a person who's trained to do a job well. Does anyone else have a problem with this definition? I have a huge problem with it. It's so vague. What does it actually tell us? Right? So, let me back up and then we'll come back to that. The profession of dentistry came about partly because of this man. Does anyone know who this is? Painless Parker? You guys know who he is?
No.
So if you do, shout it out. I want this to be as interactive as possible. So Painless Parker was a dentist. He hired P.T. Barnum Circus to come with elephants and drums and march down the street. He wore a tooth necklace of all the teeth that he extracted around his neck. So he was like Sideshow Bob. He was really kind of a freak. Well, he was actually very smart about what he was doing. Because that elephant parade and the band and the drums actually hid the screams and cries of his patients. So no one knew how much pain they were in. Pretty smart, right? Well, from a business standpoint, yes. From an ethical standpoint, as a healthcare provider, oh my goodness, Houston, we have a problem. So, Painless Parker actually changed his name legally from Edgar to Painless. He has, he applied for it, and he has his certificate hanging up wherever he goes as Painless Parker. So, the veracity principle that we have in dentistry comes from Painless Parker in terms of advertising. If you advertise tooth cleaning, 25 cents, and your patient leaves and they have to pay you, 25 cents per tooth, they're going to think that they got the whole cleaning for 25 cents, right? Because they didn't actually read tooth cleaning. They're thinking teeth cleaning. So things of that nature, Painless Parker kind of set the path towards that. As such, being a sideshow, people began to realize that going to the dentistry involved trust. You're violating somebody's space in their body. You are, you're violating it. Not only that, but they're paying you to hurt them. I mean, really, that's what they're doing. So, the profession of dentistry came about really to protect the public. And when you start a profession, you have obligations to the public. You have knowledge they don't have. They don't know what it is that you're doing, and they're trusting you to take care of them. Trusting you implicitly to take care of them. So that's why there's a profession. And that's why professionalism in dentistry is so important. So there's lots of different areas, because we have students come through and they obtain their DDS. Some of them go into private practice, some into corporate dentistry. We have students who are going to forensic dentistry. We have researchers, we have students who just want to be in academia, and we have people who go into industry, Colgate, Johnson & Johnson, Dentsply, and their consultants, or they do things within there. So in every single one of these different areas, there's different guidelines for professionalism. The ethical standards, autonomy, beneficence, non-maleficence, veracity, and justice all stay the same. So really, what is it? What is professionalism in dentistry? right? It's a lot of different things. Compassion, honesty, ethics, staying up to date, being independent. There's lots of different areas. There's no set of rules for professionalism like there are ethics. There's no one definition. So, I don't know if you can see that, it's the lights, but oftentimes we define professionalism by what it's not, right? Can everyone see that? He's wearing his gym shorts with his sport coat and tie for the press release, right? So it's just only enough to get by, right? So, sort of what we talked about earlier, you guys are, I wish I had a pointer. You guys are in this realm here, right? Where you want to be healthcare providers. You're joining the honorable profession of dentistry because you want to help people, or you want to advance science, right? But the reality is you guys are also over here, because even if you work in a corporate dental office, you're responsible for your production. And if you're not printing out the reports daily to show who you treated, what you did, what the cost of that was, you're gonna get screwed when it comes time to get paid, especially if your contract states that you have a bonus of 45% past $600 a day of production. How are you gonna know what you should really get? So there's the business aspect, but the profession of dentistry is ethically centered, which means it's patient centered, which means ethically, professionally, legally, we can't treat patients as if they were dollar signs. We can't do it. So you guys fall in this area right here. And I'll tell you what, it's your professionalism and your ethics that will make or break you. You will either succeed or fail based on this. I've seen it, and we're helping clients work through it right now. So there's really two parts to this. There's the cognitive part. That's how we make decisions. These are where our core values. Has anyone done a core value study on themselves? So our core values are the things that we grow up with. For example, faith. That's a really big one. Family. That's another big one. These are values or attributes that we hold dear. That no matter where we are, we're on a desert island and it's Lord of the Flies and we have to fight to the death for something, we're going to hold on to these values. We're going to use these values to make life or death decisions. They're with us always. So these are our core values, how we process information, our perceptions, our beliefs, our attitudes, our experiences, they all play into this decision making. And so let me give you an example of the cognitive. I'm going to say that you came into my office and I decided to give you 2 crowns for the price of 1. Okay, legally you can't do this. Just I'm giving an example, but I want to put the fine print, the disclaimer. Legally, you can't do this. So I'm going to give you 2 crowns for the price of 1. But then I'm getting to thinking about it, and I'm thinking, well, we're using the new milling machine, and that costs a little bit more. So maybe when she comes, I should bump up the price a little bit. So is that professional? No. Is it ethical? No. Is it legal? No. So that's the cognitive part, what you think. Your behavioral, obviously, is how you act. So what happens with professionalism, it's like building anything else we do. We have to practice it, we have to think it, and once we put the two together, that's what we demonstrate. And it has to become a habit. Because once your thinking skills, whether it's subconscious or conscious, come into play, your behavior is automatically going to follow. I mean, it's exactly like Pavlov's dogs. It is. We're conditioned. I mean, think about it. How many of you have moms that tell you, take your elbows off the table? Right? How many of you have that? I do. I'm very old, and my mom still tells me that. Right? So when you're out to dinner and someone has their elbows on the table, do any of you want to say, get your elbows off the table? Because I do. But then again, I have kids, and I'm telling them that now. So what we do, the commitment we have to ourselves, to our patients, affects our decision making, reflects our professional knowledge and our practice. Okay, so here's where I really want you guys to be interactive, because you're millennials. And for those of us, me, I'm a Generation Xer, and you guys are going to be working with baby boomer generation, Generation Xers, and Generation Ys. And as millennials, you guys, you're kind of setting the benchmark a little bit higher. You're able to multitask. You're able to utilize technology better than anybody else that we've seen. You guys are really phenomenal. You have a divergent thinking process that I haven't seen in all the years that I've been teaching. This last class of 2018 that I just taught last week, I was floored. So things in my generation and in former generations that were cultural norms, social norms, things like Facebook and Twitter. And we're actually going to do a quick case on Facebook. I brought a case that I give to the demo students. These are things that can either hinder or contribute to professionalism. Can you guys tell me some examples of how they can, what they are and what hinders and what contributes? Let's put our thinking caps on. I know it's the last thing you want to do. It's 5 o'clock. It's happy hour somewhere, I'm sure. So what do you think is a social norm that hinders professionalism? There's a picture of it, yes.
Maybe texting.
Texting.
Over there.
Absolutely. Texting's huge. I mean, it's so easy for us to pick up our phones and just be like, oh shoot, I'm running late. Let me text my patient. Hey, I'm running late, dude. Like, is that professional? Is it even professional to text your patient in the first place? What do you guys think? No. What about if you're sitting with somebody, a patient, a professor, and your phone rings and it's an important phone call? It's like your mom. Okay, maybe your mom's not important. It's your girlfriend. She's probably more important than your mom, but don't tell your mom that. Would you take the phone call? Probably not, right? Okay, well, I have students that are out on rotation that take phone calls from other patients while they're sitting in the chair with their current patient. Right? That's kind of a hard one. You have a patient calling you, you really need to talk to this patient, you don't have a front office person to answer the phone, and then you have a patient in the chair. What do you do? Right? You don't take the phone call. You don't, because you concentrate on the present. But if we don't practice these things, if we're not aware or mindful, which we're going to talk about in a minute, it's an issue. What about tattoos? What do you guys think about tattoos? In the workplace. Is that a hinder or a contribute? Hinder. What makes you say that? You guys can shout it out. Is it because you think professionalism is about looking sharp? You think it's just about the way you look? No? I actually don't think tattoos are a hindrance. I don't. I think it depends on, you know, where you have them. I mean, if you have like, you know, hashtags, marked up on your cheek, that's definitely going to be a problem. Especially if it says like bite on or, you know, something like that. That would be weird. But I just think a tattoo could be a hindrance or it could not be. It depends on your practice. We're going to talk about that too, building a vision. When you get out of here and you have your own practice, you're going to want to start envisioning what's that going to look like. Is it going to be really retro with lots of technology, screens, glass, you know, modern furniture, really cool vibe? Is it going to be spa-like? You're going to have a zen, you know, our patient's going to go to sleep in the waiting room and you're just going to wheel them into the chair, drill, fill, them out and bill them, right? So you want to start building a vision. If you have a really retro modern office and your patients that you attract are retro and modern, and let's say they live in the Silver Lake area, LA area, tattoos are an art, right? They may not be a hindrance. In fact, you might be weird if you don't have one. But then again, they could be a hindrance. So we're going to talk about why in a minute. Same thing with cultures and educations and beliefs and attitudes, and I think you guys get the point. If you have questions, I'll answer them. If not, I'll move on. Okay, moving on. So that brings us back to mindfulness. Have you guys ever heard that expression? Just stop and smell the roses. Right? And it's so true because if we don't pay attention to our surroundings, like right now, I'm getting the vibe that I'm losing you guys. I can see your faces. You guys are sitting there, arms crossed. Some of your heads are starting to go down. Right? Which is fine. It's 5 o'clock and I'll tell you what, I'd love a glass of wine. But I'm here. And this is great. But I know I'm mindful. I'm being aware of my surroundings. I know I need to hurry this presentation up to get to the case. I know I need to say something to make this more personal to you guys. It's being mindful. Being a professional means you're mindful. Right? And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're polite. I have such a hard time with that because do you know why manners were created in the first place? Does anyone know this? Of course I would know this because my mother was a Southern belle. Manners were created because it wasn't to make us look good or to make us better than anybody else or to show off the fact that we knew how to use the fork with our left hand and our knife with the right hand and we switch over and there's the European style. That's not the reason. It was to make other people feel comfortable so that no matter what social situation you were in or work situation, that you were able to make somebody else feel comfortable. And there's a word for that. It's consideration. And that's what I think professional is. It's being mindful and considerate. Because once you are those two things, everything else can fall into place and you can figure it out. You can figure out if tattoos are a hindrance or a hindrance to professionalism or if they contribute to it. Also, it changes constantly. Beneficence, the principle of beneficence in ethics. Part of that principle states that you must continue to do good for your profession, and part of that is your CE units. Is continuing your education, right? You constantly have to get your CEs. Why do you think that is?
Staying up to date.
Yes, you have to stay up to date because things change, right? 25 years ago, maybe longer, 35 years ago, gold foil was like the standard here at the School of Dentistry. Could you imagine trying to do gold foil now? Yeah, probably not gonna fly. So, things that change constantly, we have to self-assess. You know, I get negative reviews all the time from students. Well, not all the time, but sometimes. And constructive feedback is really a good thing. Being able to say, you know, I missed this point. Let me look at what I did and try to do this better. Because being professional is about trying to do your best, not necessarily being the best, but trying to do your best. And self-assessment is part of that. The other thing that's really important, because especially if you're entering this profession with an idea of helping people, empathy versus sympathy is key. Do you guys know the difference? You're smiling back there. Do you know the
Yeah.
difference?
Well, we had a paper on it. Right?
You did?
Yeah.
Did you guys, I have a little RSA for you. Let's see if this is hooked up. I don't think it's hooked up to sound. Hold on. Let's do this. I don't know. Do you know how the sound works on this one?
I can check. Where's our webmaster when you need him?
Are they not there? I can call IT.